He tried to elaborate to me, and then I was like not focusing because I was just like,
I was trying to
mean?
listen or something. She says that I don't pay attention. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention.
And I have to read the chart every once in a while. But then I even told her, I was like, hey, I haven't read a book in forever, and she's like, oh, a lot of people that they might only read like one book a year, and I was like, yeah. She goes, when's the last time you read a book? And I was like, 2006, probably, I would say. And she's like, high school? And I was like, yeah. Stay out of my fridge. It's time to raid. We're bringing the last, no need to be afraid.
I agree with you. All the best coaches were drunk. We were talking backstage about old school coaching, bad news bears, and how these days you couldn't even have, like, I'm a coach, you're a coach. I couldn't even fathom having a sip or having a smell or even going in hungover these days because of all the Facebook warriors and how it's frowned upon. I mean, I don't know how many times I went into a basketball practice. Pretty sure my coach was more hungover than some of us on the team.
And it was a little bit more obvious back in the day if somebody was filming you. They had the giant camcorder on the shoulder. They're like, hey, I might be on camera. Nowadays, you're always being filmed. It's convinced me to be a better person. Rightfully, I should just be a good person. No, I'm fearful that I might get filmed one day.
Have you seen the Meta glasses?
Now, are they bringing back like Google goggles again? Or not Google goggles, Google glasses again?
Google goggles are fun to say that 5 times fast. So these are the and they've actually partnered up from what I found from Ray-Ban glasses, so you can be fancy with like a Ray-Ban. I've never afforded one of those, but my dude Chris, who does a lot of content and stuff, and it happens to be with like cats. He ended up years ago taking in a stray cat, and then apparently the cat was pregnant, so he instantly became like an 8-cat dad, and then next thing you know, he didn't have the heart to get rid of them. Well, now he is pretty much a content creator with all sorts of domains and Amazon, and he's and he's really good at that stuff. Well, he's like, bro, I'm telling you, Google glasses, get on it now. And I'm like, son of a bitch. I mean, you can just ask. It's more or less AI built into your glasses. You can just sit there and have a conversation. You can do this. You can listen. You can record. So I guess it'd be like the higher end of the Google glasses or the Snapchat glasses.
What was the ones that we had? Were they called Google Glasses back in the day? Like in 2014?
I don't remember anything like that. I'm not saying that they're not. Like even these ones, you can just press the capture button, or you could just be like, hey, Meta, take a picture, take a photo. And it's got a 12 megapixel camera, a 5 mic system,
Dude.
Right built into glasses. Like instantly you're going, those creeps are going to have a day. Like that's the first thing that crossed my mind. How creepy is it? But I mean, hands-free video recording.
Dude, I'm telling you, this came out 11 years ago. All right. They were glasses. They had like this little lens on there, and it was called Google Glass, right?
Google Glass, yeah.
It did the same thing, but it was way before its time. Like it was revolutionary. And then now I was like, one of these days, like they're going to bring it back because just of the technology of how much it's increased since we were younger. But yeah, I'm looking at it, and it had, I remind you again, 11 years ago, a 5 megapixel camera.
Still pretty good.
But it would display information using a head-up display, allowed voice control for communication, and included a 5 megapixel camera. It faced criticism for privacy concerns as it could record video, photos, raising concerns about potential misuse.
But now, I guess 11 years later, when you have these things, these weren't really relevant, I guess, in 2004, where privacy, you still had a little bit of privacy, I think, in 2004. Those glasses, they were gone. But what I'm hearing, and I know for a fact that you can actually translate text in real time on those, which is pretty cool, if you travel and leave the country and stuff like that. But what I'm hearing, I don't know if it's on these specifically or maybe down the road, it's going to start having like virtual reality stuff. It's going to start having, where you can, see some things, maybe even play some games eventually, but it's going to start like really evolving. And Zuckerberg was on the Theo Von podcast and they started talking about some stuff like that. And I was like, holy shit. Like, of course, Theo asked the questions that guys like me and you would ask, which is brilliant. And I mean, it's probably within the next 5 years, things are going to get wild in that aspect.
That kind of have you ever seen Ready Player One?
I never saw. I know what it is.
Dude, that's what I think we're entering, that type of territory. It's just getting spooky.
About time the Jetsons predictions caught up.
I know. I'm trying to. You know what though? Just give me a robot I can have sex with, and I'm gonna be a-okay.
Don't they have those already? I'm pretty
But I
sure they
mean,
do.
like one that can clean as well. Like I'm talking about the one that rolls on wheels, can speak to me, address me as Mr. Whacking Off. I don't want one that's just gonna lay there until I'm ready to use it. That's
Fair
what we
enough.
have wives for.
And you don't want it to look like a person. You want it to look like an actual robot, right?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't want. They're like, hey, it looks so realistic. Ugh, no. I want it to look like I don't know, like a toaster or something.
Of all the things, a toaster.
Yeah, I don't know. Just any like the shininess of it. I don't know what she looked like. She had a box head. Let me look like what she.
It was definitely pretty boxy from what I remember, and I don't even remember the name of the. I think we
Rosie?
looked it up one time.
What was it? I can't even remember it now either.
Meet the Jetsons. I can hear the theme song. Rosie, right? It was Rosie.
That's what I thought. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Rosie.
Okay, so now I want to see a picture of Rosie to see if
Didn't Rosie have those like really mean, creepy eyes though?
she did, and
Like
that's
the red
honestly
ones.
she was a vixen, is what it was, dude. I mean, she knew what she was doing. Had the maid outfit on. Come on, bro, just setting me up for failure. And
George
everyone's
is
like,
a
"Oh, the daughter
dog.
was super cute." Nah, give me the robot. Give me Rosie.
The old XB500. Shout out to Rosie, the XB.
I might need some WD-40 here in a little bit because
Ooh.
things are getting stiff.
It's funny to me. I always make the jokes. I have all these books, right? Well, I actually started getting into reading. So I'm like, oh. So for me to get into reading, I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy myself one of those Kindles. And I'm going to put it off like, hey, wife, here it is whenever you don't want to use it. Well, then she made the switch to she's really into audiobooks. And I'm like, oh, let me get it. Turns out I really like the audiobooks a lot better than reading them. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start substituting like audiobooks instead of podcasts. Because let's be honest, all the podcasts, they kind of, at least the celebrity ones that I like, they kind of still all, the guests rotate, they promote the stuff. It's funny, it's good. But I'm like, you know what? So I just started at the time of the recording today, the band NoFX. I don't know if you ever listened to like Fat Mike and them.
Yeah.
They have an audiobook and the members of the band read. And apparently they even have special guests like Tommy Chong and stuff in it. So I just started with chapter 1. And the first friggin' thing, spoiler alert, is he's chewing food, burping, taking a drink. He's like, oh shit, am I not allowed to do this? And then he starts right off with how he, his girlfriend at the time, which I guess ended up being his wife, pissed in his mouth. And that was the first time he's ever drank pee. And then he escalated to how he milked a woman. And he just, like, that's how he started the book. And then he's like, oh, yeah, well, you guys want to talk about because it was supposed to be about him and his life. And that's just what he went with. I'm like, all right, I think I'm going to like this book.
I'm not going to kink shame anybody. Pissing in the mouth might be a line that I don't think I'm going to cross anytime soon. No, thank you.
I can 100% guarantee that it is a line that I will never cross. That is, and he described it as it tasted like some kind of tea, and I'm like, no, not a. Well, then he really escalated things. I mean, he would drink pee on stage, his own pee, like he just abused the hell out of his body. I think it's a miracle if you look at it that way. That Fat Mike is still around, and thankfully because he's on a record label of a lot of bands that I like. And I recently found out my favorite band, Teenage Bottle Rocket, coming out with a new album. So I got a new vinyl to buy in September. They released one of the songs. It's She's the Shit. So I think it's funny because the youngest one, she's like, I just listened to Teenage Bottle Rocket. I'm like, which song? She's the, I'm like, what is it? And I'm like, you can say it. No. She's 8. So I'm like, right. No. So we'll be playing it and I'll be like, she's the, and I'll hold up the mic like you can say it. She's like,
it's always enough. It's fun when kids do step out of that boundary and they're like, you know what? I'm going to curse. And like, even if they ask for permission, they're like, hey, can I say this? And it's like, yeah, why not? Go ahead. And it's a slippery slope after that. Like that's, once you start there, there's no turning back. You know what I mean? Like even my youngest, he hears the older kids. And so he's like, can I say that? And I'm like, no, you can't say that. And then he proceeds to say it anyways. And I'm like, what was the point even asking? Like, I somewhat of a respect level, but even though you know damn well you're not going to listen anyways.
It's one of those rhetorical questions. They probably got it from us because we tell them one thing and we ask them, even though they know, like, hey, you're going to go clean your room if, no, you're going to go clean your room. We should have just stopped the sentence there. You ever just have a weird day in your house where, like, the kids all get along, they all seem happy, and then they all do their chores without asking? Because that happened to us yesterday. And, like, thankfully I got this new cool phone that I can take, like, temperatures with, and I'm going around, like, trying to take their temperature. I'm like, am I delirious? Am I having, like, a fever dream or some shit? Like, it was weird. It was freaking weird.
What do they want?
That's the thing. It's been over 24 hours. Still haven't asked for anything.
Wild.
I don't know.
And they would give up immediately. As soon as you praise, like, hey, thanks, guys. Yeah, man, like, we owe you one. Now that you mentioned that, I think I need, you know what I mean? Like, immediately they need something.
I don't know. There was nothing. There was no consequence, no asking. It was just, it was weird.
It's been, I'd say probably before Christmas is because, and again, it was because it was Christmas. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, they diabolical kids,
I was wondering if I missed a holiday or something. I mean, obviously at the time of the recordings, it's Cinco de Mayo, but it's not like they're pumped for that. They don't drink tequila, and we have tacos on Tuesdays. And I was like, maybe they're going to try a back-to-back taco night, which I'm cool with, which I didn't even check. I know you're an app guy. I wonder if the old Taco Bell's got some Cinco de Mayo deals going on.
Our local restaurant does. And local.
You have local restaurants?
20 miles away. Sorry. The nearest restaurant to us, they have some specials, and we just had them like 3 days ago. And I was like, no, we can't go again. And the missus is like, and I'm like, oh man. Even the kids are like, Dad, we have practices and everything, and we're already going to be in town. And I'm like, oh, the convenience is there. And they were super excited. We were talking about bringing your lunch to school before the show, right? And my kids, normally, they don't like eating a school lunch because apparently it's gone severely downhill. And
what do they say? What's the saying? It's what?
It's booty cheeks.
It's booty cheeks. Lunch is booty cheeks.
They say it's booty cheeks. And they today was supposed to be super nachos for Cinco de Mayo. And they're like, Dad, don't pack a lunch. Like, it's nachos today. So I pick them up and I was asking them, like, hey, how was your lunch? And they're like, so I was like, hey, how were those super nachos? And they're like, oh, we didn't even have it today. They switched it up. And I was like, what? What'd they have? What'd they replace super nachos and Cinco de Mayo with? And they go, cheeseburger. And I was like, oh, turf.
They couldn't even put like grande or like a fun play on super.
Like a make it loose meat sandwich is a taco burger. You know what I mean? Like what?
Something. Put a little salsa on a hamburger patty. You gotta creative.
They make salsa dogs. Why not salsa burgers? Just go ahead and just make it a little festive. Nope. So the kids were super disappointed about that. And
that sucks.
I know. And it's like everything was fine. They're like, oh, Dad, it was fine. My son thought he had MAP testing, which I don't know if you guys have that over there, but it's like a little
the state testing or something.
Yes, the state testing.
'Tis the season here.
He didn't even want to go to school today. He's like, oh, we got to do that all day. And I was like, I looked forward to that back whenever I was a kid. I was like, that's a whole day of, you already know what's going on. They usually have snacks. They always have the stuff going on. I was like, easy peasy.
Teachers are extra nice because it makes them look good if you do good.
Exactly. They're more willing to help you too. You know what I mean? They're always like,
they're not supposed to.
They're like, what do you need? They're like, and I was like, they're like, do you see what I see? And I'm like, I understand what you're saying right now. Yes.
Careful. Don't get stung by that bee that's flying around. We had a teacher that allegedly they would walk by and you'd be in the middle of, we had like regents, which is like state testing. So if you want to get a regent's diploma in New York, you have to pass a certain amount of state tests. And of course they can't help you. So he'd walk by and you'd be like, oh, I don't know if you see that, but, and then he'd walk by, and he had something. Oh, yeah, I know sometimes the Canadian comes out of me. Just stupid one-liners, and you're just like, thanks, Doc.
It's like, appreciate you, homie. Those teachers were always like the ones that are really, really cool. And it's sad whenever they pass away, if they're the older ones, but you see how big their funerals are just because they're like, hey, he was a real one. Like he was, or she was, I don't know. We always had those teachers that you always respected, and then you had those ones that were just pieces of crap. And you couldn't wait until we're like, hey, do you have tenure? I hope not. I hope you get fired. I hope you get caught peeping or something. Like, we need to
I
get
hope
rid of
you
you.
get finally caught for that bottle of whiskey you have in your drawer that I know you're sneaking little nippers out of all day.
And and speaking of the school too, I had to send them like a note because I went to go on the track, and they have like these bleachers that are, what is like the metal or the aluminum bleachers? I think aluminum. And then they have these old wooden bleachers that I think were the original ones when the school was built, that they have like the students sit on and stuff. And so I'm over there, and I went to go like do a little bit of stretches. So I sat down, and I barely even scoot. And next thing I know, it feels like I sat on a porcupine. It
Oh,
have a whole bunch of splinters deep into my ass cheeks. And I'm like, this can't get much worse. And I'm
this
sitting
was
there
before working out or after?
before my run. And I'm like, this sucks. And while like nobody's ever there, when I always go after school, plenty of time after their practices and everything else. And I'm over there just digging out on a Sunday afternoon, 30 splinters out of these cheeks. And whenever I look up, and of course, I ripped my pen before I run because I do that mile high run club.
Finally, someone that I know gets a runner's high.
If that's the only way that I can, baby. And but I'm like dazed out, and I'm just sitting there, just like, okay, there's another one, just feeling my cheeks to see if I could find another one. And I'm like it almost looks aggressive at this point. I'm just
You got
rubbing
a
these
hairy
cheeks.
ass, I'd assume, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and I'm like feeling my shorts that I got on and just rubbing the cheeks, trying to see if I can find anything like poking at my hand.
Kind of
And
shorts you rocking? Basketball shorts, like late '90s, early 2000s, long shorts still.
oh yeah,
I
I think
respect
they're
it.
still from that. I think these I purchased probably in 2005,
Nice.
and I still have them. Do you remember
Hell
the
yeah.
And One brand?
Yeah.
Bada bang. That's pretty much what I'm still rocking
I
here.
still had those original ones, but they're so old that the that the drawstring in them finally gave out, and now I can't wear them just because they're just so goddamn big and heavy that if I try to wear them, and I'm not going to be the fold over guy like the girls do and roll up my shorts, and I'm not going to. Do they make short belts? Because that maybe you know how they have the belt buddy, like there's no loops in them, so you can't really rock the belt buddy. But imagine a nice little. Remember way back in the day before our times, they used to wear the short shorts with the belts as a basketball uniform. Maybe we try
Yes.
to normalize belt shorts. How many times you been in Walmart, see a big old ass crack hanging around somebody probably in hand one shorts,
Uh,
belt
almost
shorts.
guaranteed every single time you're going to see a just gigantic ass crack hanging out. And I hate it too because whenever I get ready to run, every single pair of pants or like jogging pants or whatever that I wear, they still always seem to slide down no matter how tight I'm putting those drawstrings on. You know what I mean? And I can't stand it because
Mm.
if there's no drawstrings in the shorts, I'm not bringing them because
No,
I'm going to be running trying to pull up my pants the entire time. Man. I'm not about that life. That's frustrating as hell.
that's why we need short belts.
So
That's
I think
got to
there
be
was
a
one
thing,
that
right?
used to. I think there was something that used to clasp on the waistband that would like go from one end to the other. It's like a little mini ratchet strap.
Hmm. Man, I mean, maybe it's not the right terminology, but I just did a quick little Google and I put shorts belts, and I'm just getting normal belts. I probably needed to do like basketball short belts.
No loop belt.
Maybe that's the right thing. There
There
is.
it is.
Oh, geez. I googled basketball short belts, and the first thing is a relaxed fit tactical, and it's a guy that has a pew pew tucked inside his belt. Apparently, it's made for tucking that in there.
Mhm. I believe it's for tucking other things as well. You can't
Mm.
convince me
This
otherwise.
one's interesting though, right here. A athletic shorts basketball that has like a belt built into them. That
Okay.
is interesting. Let me show you here. Look at this. It's got like the belt. I don't know if you can see it or not. Built into it.
It's all
Makes it.
black me.
Yeah,
Wait,
it's
there's like
hard because it is all. Let me see if I can just bring up. It's almost like the clasp. I'm trying to think of what else it would be on, like almost like on a book bag or something. I'll have to send it. Let me see if I can. Purple. Okay, yeah, that's smarter. Purple shorts.
very nice.
Plastic, probably like 25 cents to make. Hmm.
Surely there's something because man, that's got to be a common issue, right?
It can't.
Because
It
it feels like
has
no
to
matter
be.
how tight, I'm sitting there, I'm trying with all my might to get this thing as tight as possible. And by the time, maybe I tie my shoes like an idiot, but by the time I'm able to get to that bunny loop and I release that finger from the inside, and I'm like, release the finger from the inside, hey-o, and I pull those bunny loops apart, it always like releases a little bit, and that's just enough to slide down a little bit when these booty cheeks are running.
Booty cheeks running. Man,
Somebody's getting a
I
good
don't
show.
know. I don't think there's basketball. I think we got an invention here. Basketball short belts. I don't know if anybody would actually buy them.
Probably like, hey, at least for me, they're like, you fat ass. That's the reason why it doesn't fit, is because I have very nice love handles.
It's and it's a problem. I mean, obviously with us, I wonder. All right, if there's any adults that listen to this, because there's no chance in hell that kids are listening to this. If you would benefit from a basketball short, mesh short, runner short belt, they're probably thinking, why don't you just buy a pair that fits you? Sometimes things happen, when you wash them, when you dry them, and sometimes we get a little bit bigger and a little bit smaller.
And that's the thing is, I'd rather have them a little bit bigger than a little bit smaller.
That's how we grew up. I like it. All right, we got a new invention. We're gonna be millionaires.
Dude, billionaires. Jeff Bezos actually, I kept looking at my phone there because he won't stop calling because he was overhearing our talk and he wants in. It actually corrected both of his eyes at the same time.
I think we can skip Shark Tank. We're not even gonna have to go on Shark Tank. We're just gonna. Do you remember the phase where people would use shoestrings as belts? I never could use a shoestring as a belt, but
Me neither.
I just was like, you know what? I'm not gonna wear. And there was a stage in my life I just didn't wear a belt, and now I'm like, I can't picture my life. Now I'm at the point I got real big, and then I really only have one belt. So when I lose some weight, now I have to friggin' get a screwdriver and stuff and add extra holes into it. And I'm like, God damn, maybe I shouldn't be so cheap. But I don't really know how to buy a belt other than like going to a store, trying it on. But then I'm like trying on a belt, and I always feel like they're gonna be like, why are you trying to steal this belt right now, sir? And I'm like, I'm not trying to steal. But then how do you defend yourself? Like, no, I'm just trying it on. And it's just like, oh, you're just going to try on the belt. Well, you just go try on those shorts underneath your pants and put that shirt on under. I don't know. That's a weird thing. It's got to be a tism, right?
It may be because I think shop for belts relatively easy because you have like the little hooks that they usually hang on. And maybe it's just state thing. I don't know. But it has the size of your waist. So if you know your waist size, it'll say, hey, this belt is up to, for this size. And then you can gauge either you want to go a little bit lower, a little bit bigger, just in case, again, fluctuates.
Okay.
But what I've noticed too is if I choose my size, I'm still using the very last hole, right? So I'm like the tightest setting on it, right? So I have all of this extra belt, and it just looks stupid, especially if I'm tucking in my shirt for work, if I'm like wearing dress pants and stuff. It just an unnecessary amount of belt, and I'm like, well, if I'm choosing my size, what? That's the only thing I would say that is kind of difficult is because it does say it is one size, and now that you think of it, you know what? I think about it out loud. I'm on your side. The belts.
I think we're two grown ass adults that don't know how to buy a belt. I've never bought a belt for myself. I have one belt in my house, and I don't know where it came from. I don't know if somebody gave it to me. I don't know if maybe it was a present years ago, or maybe, you know what I mean? Even my parents might have bought it for me like 20, 30 years ago. I've never bought a belt, and I don't know. Now that we're talking about this, I don't know if I know how to buy a belt.
I buy all my belts, but apparently I'm sporadic and buy some that are good and some that are bad. I like the ones that are reversible, where you can hold the buckle
So
and then twist them.
I had a reversible, brown on one side, black on the other.
Yes,
The thing,
sir.
but it time just broke apart. Just was cheap, I'm assuming, and just I'm down to one, and I only have a black belt, and it's not from karate.
What were those belts made out of that didn't have the holes that were like the woven? Damn. Do you know what I'm talking about? That you can clasp it on any setting, like it didn't matter what size. What happened to those belts? I want one of those.
There, let's see. I put them up here. There's canvas, elastic, fabric, woven belts. Like this, there's all sorts. I mean, apparently you can go to Beltology, or you can just go to Amazon for $9.99.
Oh, there it is. It's a braided belt. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you got those like marine green ones. I remember some people that wore like military style belts. Never were in or decided to go military. Probably the
Yeah.
punk rock stage, grunge stage, of the 90s. Yeah, those are
That's
pretty smart though, those woven belts, because you don't need a hole. You just stick it through the material, and then that's your
hmm
size.
See, that one's not bad, but it does. You almost need to rock cowboy boots with it. To me, I don't know. Maybe is that the braided belt kind of gives me a Western look. I don't know why. Maybe I'm inaccurate with that, but I also
Remember the
use like
stupid belts with like the two metal ends that you had to like?
that's what I was going to say, the flag football type one. And first of
Yeah.
all, don't call them. See, I still rock that belt all the
Do
time. It's
you?
one of my favorite belts. Now, the only thing,
Fair
the
enough.
the the two rings. If
Yeah.
you're a husky individual, whenever you're bending over, it is like two little fists just jabbing you right in your gut. But
$8.99 on Amazon, baby.
hell
Look at
yeah.
the color choices. You got Carolina blue, brown, gray, safety green, yellow, any color. I think I might just get one. The reason I say stupid, one, I just didn't have the brain to be able to figure out how to tighten when you get through there. And we wore them, I think, in like baseball one year until we went with like the real, like the stretchy ones that just had the like belt loops and the normal clasp, but it only had like this much of like a cheap plasticky rubber thing that you put the thing through. Yeah.
They're not fun, man. Like that's now I will say that whenever I used to drink heavily, wearing those two ring belts and stuff like that, almost like a Rubik's Cube, trying to get that bud boy out of there. I'm just like, hey, I'm like, I'm about to piss my pants. I was like, I'm about to give up. This is taking too long. But no, now cargo shorts, my dad's shorts, my kids call it. Always. That's the belt that I rock with it. Every time.
I like that. See, I had to downgrade closets when we put the addition in. The wife got the nice big walk-in closet and all that stuff, and I went from a nice big walk-in closet to a closet that I still haven't put a door on, and it's like 2 feet in depth, maybe like 4 foot long. Not a great closet, so I didn't have room to put any goddamn clothes. So I ended up getting rid of like 10 bags of clothes, pants, shorts, shirts, lots of shirts that I got for free. My short collection is weak, and I'm pretty sure I got rid of some classic cargo. Now I'm thinking, like, if I don't have a pair of cargo pants, like, do you go out and just try to buy a new style pair? Do they make them as durable, or do you just move on from? Like, I got a kind of like I kind of say they're like golf shorts, like fancy golf shorts, just your normal, just a pair of black, maybe a pair of brown or something, just casual shorts. Because once we hit April or May at my place of employment, you can start wearing shorts until like October. It's your business attire, but it's still like 50, 45, 50 here, so I'm still rocking them pants.
It was 82 whenever I looked. It
Shit.
was only supposed to get up to like 75 today is what they said, but
Only.
it got I know. I'm enjoying it this week. Not to brag. We're not even supposed to get rain or
Ooh,
anything. It is supposed to be 70. I don't know if you can tell. I got a little sunburn. I got a little red, I
damn.
got a little color. But it
You
was
can tell I didn't.
it's I stayed out all weekend, dude. We're gonna have a good 7-day stretch of beautiful weather.
Wow.
And my wiener's finally gonna get a break because I'm gonna be outside so much. It's not gonna get abused for me being indoors.
It still will.
Hallelujah.
You'll find time.
Yeah, for sure.
We
Speaking of
had.
which,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I went to the doctor on Friday and was gonna get on some medication, kind of help with my mental state, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they were also gonna test me for ADHD or ADD,
I thought you were
and
gonna
I
say
was
AIDS. I was like,
no,
holy shit! What did you
they
do?
they check that every time they draw my blood. Every time
Gotcha.
they're like, "Hey, this guy looking a little positive, if you know what I mean." But then I was like, "Joke's on you, depressed." But they did the test or whatever, and they're like, "Hey, dude, ADD for sure." And I was like, "Oh, for real?" And they're like, "Here's some stuff. Try it out. See what happens." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." And they're like, "It's gonna mess with your sex drive." And I was like, "Negatively?" And they're like, "Oh yeah." And they're like, "You might be able to perform, but you ain't gonna finish." And I was like, "Oh shit, that sucks." I was like, man. And so I was like, if I wasn't gonna myself now I'm definitely gonna do it.
That's big pharma. They're like, listen, you're not quite depressed, so we're going to call it this. And then by the time you're done with this, you're going to move into depression.
Yeah, it's like Do you hate yourself? You're gonna hate yourself even more with this.
What's the difference between ADD?
I don't know. So that's what, because I said that I thought it was ADHD, and then
Yeah.
after speaking, they're like, and doing the testing, they're like, hey, it's actually ADD, and I was like, oh, okay. So I'm not, I don't hyper focus, so like I'm able to, if like I struggle to get motivated, and excuse me, and so I can like ghost and avoid things at all costs, even though I know I need to do them, right, or something. I forget. I
Huh.
don't know. She tried to elaborate to me, and then I was like not focusing because I was just like, you
I
know
was
what I
trying to
mean?
listen or something. She says that I don't pay attention. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention.
And I have to read the chart every once in a while, but then I even told her, I was like, hey, I haven't read a book in forever, and she's like, oh, a lot of people that they might only read like one book a year, and I was like, yeah, yeah. She goes, when's the last time you read a book? And I was like, 2006, probably, I would say. And she's like, high school? And I was like, yeah, yeah. And she's like, why? And I was like, I don't know. They said every time I took a test, they said I was a very, like, although my vocabulary was, decent. And
I could speak well. I need them books.
yeah, well, I could read well, but it was just whenever I would read, I would just read the words and I'd follow along with it and everything else. But in my mind, I'm just like, damn, I can't believe they didn't have super nachos at lunch today. That's very upsetting. Cinco de Mayo, And by the way, then you hear the pages turn and you're like, oh shit. Like what the hell did I just even read? Like what? I don't know. So I'm reading the same page 3 or 4 freaking times. And
Think I have it.
that's what I'm
Can't
saying.
unless I'm interested in a book. I'm gonna be very honest with you. I didn't read a book in high school. I probably read kid books when I was little or something, because you do. I don't remember, but probably part of whatever this is. The first book that I was able to actually get through was Tucker Max, I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell. It was the first book I've ever read. When did that come out? I mean, probably, let's say 2010 for easy math. I don't know. And I still got it over here. And I read through all the series because I was into it. It was funny. It was relatable. Like, do I want to sit down and try to read Of Mice of Men or 1984 or any of the shit? You know what I mean?
A Tale of Two Cities.
Yeah, the Mockingbird one,
To
and
Kill a Mockingbird, bro? You talking about Atticus Finch?
never read it.
Yeah. It was a group read-alongs in school. That's the only reason why I remember some of these books. There was one book, I always did the Spark Notes. We always had to do a novel test in
I didn't have
English.
Spark Notes.
See, we did, and it was amazing. And so you just have like the little Cliff Note version of the book, and it helped me with my essays. It helped me with my studying of this test, because you have to do like a book
Whoa,
test.
you can't say that anymore on Cinco de Mayo, especially.
Dang, I did say it. You know what? Essay. They no, I was gonna say a joke, and
I saw you filter.
that look at me. That's called growth, ladies and gentlemen. That's growth.
Not that I had my hand on the mouse to clip it, but
That pause button is gonna be or that feature is gonna come quite handy. So damn, now I forgot what I was gonna say. Yeah,
you're
but
talking about Spark Notes, Cliff
yes.
Notes.
You would take the test, and I would get like a 90-something%. There'd be one question on there and going, shit, that wasn't in the notes at all. Like, what is this? Because that's what she would do. She would throw a little bit in there, and then you're sitting there just guessing. You're like, all right, well, I just put 2 C's in a row, so she wouldn't do 3 C's. Like, there's no way she would do that. And I'm like, well, maybe she would. C. Wrong. Damn it. I knew she wouldn't do 3 C's. Damn it.
That's why I think I have carpal tunnel, is from filling out them goddamn little circles with a pencil and all the tests that they made us take. Remember those? Did you still have to take those on our tests when I was in school? Yes, I'm that old. You had the answer thing that was like A, B, C, D, and when you took it, you read the shit, and then because heaven forbid that they have to reprint some shit that you can write on or just write the answer. You had the goddamn answer keys. And you do. And then if you didn't put them in there all the way and you didn't do it right, then you had to give it back. They'd have to fix it, because I think some of the state shit they just ran through a machine. And I'm like, you sons of bitches.
You went just a little over the line here. We were really confused. There's 3 white circles, and then there's 1 fully covered in circle with a little bit sticking out. What do you think I picked? You see it?
And it's like
my knowledge.
And the reason why I'm also going to kind of go to war here with this, I didn't have to read a book. Like you said, they just taught you how to take a test. They taught you the answers that are going to be on there in different orders and how to write them. Like, even if they were like the English ones for us in the regions, are like, well, you have to reference a book and it's going to be a short answer and you have to base it on, say, To Kill a Mockingbird. But all you have to do is just put this and say this. And it's like, okay, so I don't have to read the book. No, you need to read the book. But you just said all I got to do is just describe this of the book. Well, yeah, but you got to read the book to understand it. I don't have to read the book to understand it. I just got to understand how to take the test. And it's like, they just, all these people took all the time to read a goddamn book when they just give you the practice test and then you just know what to put. Like, I don't get that. I can read the goddamn book.
Because you know what you want for the end result. It's like, hey, if I can get there quicker, I'm not reading the whole damn book for that. I can take the test. I can get my result. I'm good.
It's like, are you going to put in an address in the GPS and follow all the steps? Or are you just going to press go and just go with it? I mean, who does that? I'm not going to do that.
Hell no.
I do rely on the Google Maps pretty heavily. I'm not going to lie. It's probably like to a fault maybe, but I can go to the same goddamn, like, even when I go to the kids' school, it's 55 minutes away. I still put it in there just in case there's a little bit of a detour. And I just like to know, like, oh shit, I'm going to be there in 37 minutes. I'm going to be there in 12 minutes. Same route every goddamn time. But I put it on. I don't.
See, excuse me. I do the same thing, but for a different reason. I like when it notifies you if there's a police officer nearby, because there's homies that use Google Maps that put the alerts on there and they're like, hey, is the stalled vehicle still here? Is the police car still here? And it's like,
how do you do that?
Yeah, that doesn't. It doesn't automatically pop up. Is it like a filter that I have?
I mean, so if I'm like in an actual well-populated area, I've seen speed trap ahead or something like that. They'd say that. But where I am, I drive by the goddamn cops all the time, just sitting there, and I don't get any warning. But if I see them, I wouldn't mind putting them on there. You know what I mean? If I figure out how I can do it, I'll be the guy.
Yeah, you
Although
should.
If you're a cop listening, I don't want to be that guy. I want to make sure you hit your quota in New York, because God forbid you got numbers to hit. I understand it. And you can always tell when you guys are behind on your numbers, because late in the month, you're going pretty heavy.
No. That's the first and the last of the month. I'm like, I'm going to go with the speed limit. And I know exactly what their traps are all the time, but I still use the Google Maps to verify it. And so on my vehicle, it has like a little plus sign. So I imagine it's the same way on the phone. You hit that little plus sign and it'll say like a yield, or
sure,
like
that's not your ADD button.
Is it? Probably, maybe. I don't know. Am I hallucinating this whole goddamn thing? No, but it's
shit. If it goes away when you take your medicine, then it was there the whole. So just not to go back to that, because we're going to. But apparently ADD is like an older term, so they're just using ADHD as like it's ADD was like outdated or some shit, according to the Google when I quick did it.
This nurse practitioner is an old lady, so maybe I don't know.
So just to let you know, I mean, you could still have ADD, but I think it's just they're like, you know what? We can't call it that anymore. It's like, developmentally disabled. That's the new term for some words that we might have used back in the day that people don't like to use anymore. So I think that's what it is.
That's actually making a comeback, which is wild, because you hear it a lot now. Like whenever I'm in the schools, I just hear kids calling each other now and again. I'm like, and I kind of just like,
okay,
who said that? And I'm like, I'm still not going to say, you're not going to catch me slipping. Again, cameras everywhere.
Everywhere. I know I tried to explain it to the kids, like, if, like, that was normal for us. We didn't mean it in a mean way. Like, you know what I mean? And let's be honest, there wasn't as, many, at least in our area, like at all, of kids that had a lot of these disabilities. It seems like there's a lot more these days. You know what I mean? And I don't know. We could probably take guesses and get into a weird rabbit hole about stuff like that. But because I was listening to something the other day, and they were even talking about how, it was my grandma. We just had a birthday party for her. She's turning 90 this week, and the shit that she went through. And she was even like, we were just kind of talking because I heard something. And I'm like, how many of your friends, or how many people, like, as you got older, were diagnosed with cancer? She's like, nah, not really. Every once in a while. And I'm like, nowadays, your 20s, there's cancer everywhere, but there wasn't a lot of older people. She's like, it's the goddamn food you're eating. I'm like, yeah, you're 100% right, but it's just crazy to think about. 90, could you imagine the shit she's seen 90 years?
I know. I think if I'm lucky to even live that long, I don't know. I just couldn't imagine how much everything's going to advance by the time that we're 90. You know what I
There's
mean?
a chance they're saying that people might be able to live forever. Probably like our kids. I think we'll have a really good chance with the technology, like the Zucks, the Musks, all these people on podcasts are like, it's gonna happen. Like people will start living forever. They're just like, we're not sure if we're quite there. And I'm like, well, sons of bitches, billionaires aren't quite there. We're screwed. But
Right.
I think there's going to be a point in time which that's probably not a good thing, right? If people can just live forever, and then more and more and more, I feel like eventually we're going to run out of some room.
Right. Then you're gonna start getting into the areas where they're like, hey, you can only have 2 children. You
Like
know, you can only
China,
have.
aren't they like that kind of?
I think so. There was like a going back to the whole book thing. I remember one when I was like in 5th grade where they had a book that was like they were hiding a child from this rule that they had. I think they can only have so many of one gender or something. I can't remember, but it was a book about that. I remember being fascinated. I was like, what if we ever got to that? And I lived in such an overly populated area that I was like, we're getting close, we're getting close. And then I moved out here, and I was like, man, not even remotely close. It's like there's too much space around here.
Yeah, I got talking, speaking of kind of like that with Burley earlier, because I was like, man, I think I'm going to get into decal and cars. I just found out that there's some people around here, they get like $200 to clean the inside of your car. And I'm like, so I looked into it. I'm like, all I really need is an air compressor, a shop vac, and like a carpet cleaner, like a portable one. I already got all those. So I bought an attachment that all the pros use, a couple little things of cleaner. I'm like, you know what? I spent $110 on top of the stuff I already have. I'm like, I could be an interior. So I told the kids, I'm like, here's your hustle. You're gonna work. So I'm gonna teach you out. We'll do it on mine. You're gonna do the wife's. We'll do the grandparents. And I said, listen, maybe every once in a while people bring them out instead of charging 200. Hey, stop over. Do $75. I'll take 25. You take 25, and the other kid take 25. The three of you. There we go. We'll make some extra money. Just as is. Come over a couple hours of work, and I'm just like, so I was explaining to him, I was like, you know anybody who does that? He's like, yeah. And he's like, he just got stuck on like the outside, like washing the cars and the salt and shit like that. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to want to do the outside, with liability. The kids will probably scratch them shit. And I'm like, you can go to a car wash for like $12, right? He goes, I've never washed my car. And I'm like, ever? He's like, no, dude. He goes, my dealership, when you get an oil change, they wash your car for you. I'm like, what? He's like, bro, you got to get out of this country. He goes, I was like, well, I only have 2 dealerships. One's like a Chevy and one's like a Dodge Jeep. And I was like, that's all we got. And they've never washed a car with an oil change. And he's like, have you ever lived in a city? I'm like, I did as a kid, but I don't know if it counts. He's like, get yourself to a city, man. I'm like, I don't think I could. Like, could you right now move and live in like a big city? Like he's like Houston. I'm like, there's no goddamn way. I couldn't.
No, no. And the fact that one getting a car wash after getting your oil change sounds awesome too,
Right?
but also them getting into my vehicle to go take it to go get it washed probably. I'm just kind of like, rather
Like
not.
I'm like these car dealerships. My buddy's the GM. I want to be like, dude, why not upsell? Like when new vehicles come in or you sell one, you're gonna wash the shit out of it. For me, like if you were to be like, all right, here's an oil change, and oil changes are on a truck are what, 50, $60 now. Just be like, yeah, how about we do 75, $80? We'll wash it for you. What do you
Right?
have in it? You already have all the shit. Like just give a little upsell shit. I bet you people they could get $100 for a car wash and oil change.
Oh yeah, easy. Especially if they hear a combo and it says, "Oh, you saved this," even whenever you probably marked up everything to make it the $100. But whenever do you change your own oil?
No, I'm not that manly.
Okay, so I do it occasionally, but like with the Mrs. car, she has the warranty, right? So sometimes if you have that, you don't even want to do it yourself because
Do you really
they'll
save that much changing it, or is it just like you? And I'm not trying to like be like I'm asking you because oil's expensive and they don't really mark up the oil. You know what I mean? But like for me in the state that I live in, lovely New York, I think I would pretty much lose money because then I have to dispose of it properly. I know I don't have to, but if I'm not just going to keep jugs of oil laying around, and by the time you buy the filters and this and that, like, is it around the same thing, or do you think you really do save some money?
to me, it seems like you do save money.
Okay.
By the time you purchase the oil and the oil filter, like you don't need to get an air filter every single time. Just pat that bad boy on your knee and call it a day. But like I don't know, like there's something about like changing your own oil. You're just like, yeah, that way if you can notice something underneath your own vehicle, if you see any problems with it, you can kind of look at it. Is it terrifying sometimes? Yeah, because I'm just like these jack stands. These are older than me. Like, is this? I
Do
could
you
barely
use
get
the
up.
thing that you use to like change your tire? Or do you have like different things? You got the drive up. Remember those yellow drive up
The
things?
ramps,
Yeah.
I do have the ramps. Don't trust them. Apparently, I'm just
I
not
don't
good
know.
with them. I don't like those at all. I would much rather use a jack and then get a jack stand on each side.
Gotcha.
Now, luckily with my truck, if I want to change it, I can just get right underneath of it. I even have a what is it called, a creeper with the little wheels that you can lay back on down and
Oh, the little slidey
slide.
thing?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
you got a
So
paved driveway?
no, I do not. But if I pulled into the shop here,
Oh,
concrete
gotcha.
floor. Yes, sir.
I don't have
And
shop. I don't have a garage, and I got a dirt driveway.
see, this one makes it a little bit easier. Like otherwise, I would put down. I got a piece of plywood. I would just lay down and just do the oil change that way. I don't know. It does save you some money, but I like going to the one. I don't know if you guys have these, but there's an Valvoline. I'm probably saying that incorrectly, but Express
Mark Martin, that's the first thing that pops in my mind when I think of that.
race hell,
Race
praise
car
hell,
driver.
baby. The you don't even get out of your car. You just drive up, goes through this little garage door. They have the spot underneath where you can see people's hands, like, hey, keep coming, keep coming. And there'll be people walking around. They're like, hey, what do you need? I'm like, just an oil change. They're like, cool, cool, cool. And within 10 minutes tops, dude, I don't think I've ever taken longer than that. You're out of there. You
Yeah,
never
I don't
even get
have
out.
any.
Even in the
God,
wintertime, you're just pulling up and you don't even have to get out of your truck. You're just over there. You roll down your window. They're like, hey, here's the card. And they always give you coupons for like $15 off and stuff. I love it. It is.
no shit. I would
I tell
franchise
everybody
one
about
up
it.
here, will you?
Dude, I'm gonna look it up now. I'm gonna see if that's the thing. It's called an
While you're doing
Express.
that, and before we get out of here, I googled how much do you actually save changing your own oil. It says doing your own oil can save you potentially hundreds of dollars a year.
See,
So
I mean,
yeah,
I would say, judging by how much I spend on the oil and the filter, like you said, I think it's like $70 for an oil change. I could buy the stuff for less than 40. I mean, easily,
yeah.
easily.
They said the cost of oil and filter is about 30 to 45 bucks, obviously not including tax, depending on what state you are in. And you can find, about the same, sometimes better quality parts than auto stores. Then if you use synthetic oil, it's obviously much more expensive. But they said more or less what you're saving on is the labor. So if you bring it to a
Yeah.
garage that they charge you 100 an hour, you're out on that. If you're going to a place that's like 30, 40 bucks an hour. Interesting.
It looks like there are some. How you need to go to Staten Island to get your oil change, just to hop and a skip away.
Yeah,
You
well,
know,
I'm driving around there. Yeah, I got nothing. Maybe Burley's right. Maybe I need to, or they're just business opportunities. So if anybody listening has like something that's super popular like this, and our whole belt thing doesn't work out, shoot some business ideas that are really standard in your area because we don't have them, and something that I might enjoy doing, and then we'll start that business up here because
absolutely.
there ain't shit. We got a Monroe muffler, and then a couple like auto places, and then one or two dealerships. And the dealerships, I'm not trying to speak on their behalf. I don't think they give it. They don't want your oil changes. They want you to come in and buy a new vehicle. They have a service thing. They're going to make some money, but if I was to call right now, the one that's right near me, it'd be 3 weeks out before I could get an oil change. And I'm going to forget in
Yep.
3 weeks. I'm a last minute guy. Like, how am I going to plan out how many miles I'm going to drive and then wait another 3 weeks? I just had a goddamn transmission go bad. So now I'm like, you know what? I'm only going to dealerships so that way they can check all the levels, they can check all the shit, make sure, because every once in a while, like the last one, I needed one real quick. I was going on a trip, lost track of it. I went to a wall fart. And then next thing, I'm not saying they didn't, they changed the oil, like whatever. But I'm just like, I wonder if they would have checked the transmission oil, the fluids, and, ran something a little bit if I went somewhere else. So I'm only doing that from now on.
While I'm in there too, they're checking my tire pressure. They check the fluids and everything for the windshield wiper fluid, the transmission oil. I mean, they're doing it all too.
That's why I'm like, you know what? It's worth the money.
Yeah. So I mean, they do change. Sometimes I am forgetful about the windshield wiper fluid until I go to use it, and there's just nothing, and I go, mother, gotta go get some.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's worse in the winter, but then you just get out and you throw some friggin' snow on there and hope that works for a little bit. But all right, brother.
I don't want any
Well,
more snow.
I looked
You
at
can
the
keep
clock. I
that.
know you're a busy man. Best of luck in your coaches versus kids game tonight. And anybody else that's here, can't thank you enough. And that's all I got. Anything else, brother?
No, I'm about to whoop these kids' ass.
Get up. All right. I don't know. Stay out of our fridge. You know what I mean? It costs money to have that goddamn light on, and electric bills are high. And I don't have solar power. So we'll see you next week. Take care. Be good to your wieners. Bye bye.
Knock, who's there? It's the podcast you adore. Stay out of my fridge. We're back, ready to explore. Got a tale to tell, gonna make you laugh, gonna make you smile. So buckle up tight, it's gonna be alright. We're diving deep into your fridge where secrets hide.